Today we're going to talk about what is probably my favorite Genesis song. I've said that twice before, but today I think I mean it. And that is, I Know What I Like, brackets, in your wardrobe. This song was released in February of 1974, and the record company thought it was a single. In fact, the band, when they were jamming it, were jamming on a Steve riff. And I believe that Phil was maybe playing with his hands or playing on congas for a little bit. Tony had those 3 chords that were repeating over and over, and they were just jamming on it. But immediately they had a sense that it would be a single. And I believe the lyrics are inspired by the painting that was used on the cover of Selling England by the Pound. And it inspired them to ask the artist if she would add a lawnmower. And so the idea is this fella named Jacob. My kids were asking me about the meaning of this song recently because it doesn't make any sense to them. But there's this idea that this guy named Jacob is a lawnmower. He's kind of middle class or less than that. And he has really no aspirations to make anything of himself. He likes to just lie around, do his job, and stare at the beautiful people and live vicariously through their lives. That's kind of like my interpretation of it. I've always thought of it as like someone in a lower class admiring the upper class and aspiring to be one of them. I'm not sure if that's true. I thought I've read recently that the meaning was maybe that he had no aspirations. People were always trying to kick him in the butt, and he just didn't. I don't know. Let's talk about musically. There are so many things going on in here. There's congas at the beginning. I think they disappear. There's an organ. There's apparently an organ part that, was it Phil and Peter who were messing around with when Tony was out of the room, and then Tony came back and heard it and was like, who did that? Don't touch my keyboards. Do you remember that? I'd love to know exactly what sound that was, because there's also this like rotating Leslie. Now, we've got a lot of musicians and engineers who watch this channel. And so I'm trusting you to tell me, there's this like rotating Leslie sound that's happening at the beginning of this. Reminds me a little bit of the end of Find a Way to My Heart. What is that sound? What is making that sound? It's kind of cool. I really love it. There are so many interesting things. And actually, a lot of them, like some of the shakers and the bells and stuff, a lot of them just immediately disappear whenever the drums kick in, the bop, 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 boom. And then it just locks into a groove. Another thing I'll say about this album, I haven't planned out this episode, I'm just ranting. Another thing I'll say about this song is how it has such a groove, and probably for the first time in Genesis' career leading up to this album, and we hear it again on Cinema Show, my favorite part of Cinema Show, is this really locked-in groove from Phil, which is not something we often hear. And so that's what gives this song, and there's a bit of a repetition to it as well, and a memorable hook in the chorus. And so that's what gives this song that radio potential. For radio, it reached number 21 on the UK singles chart. I don't think we have any US stats for it. I did hear something interesting, though, that they wouldn't beat this radio chart position until Follow You, Follow Me, which surprised me because I thought Your Own Special Way did better than this, but I guess it didn't, or Ripples, but I guess it didn't. So I Know What I Like was their highest ranking song and wasn't replaced until Follow You, Follow Me. It has been a live staple. It's kind of like the Take Me Home of the Genesis catalog because, gosh, I think it's been a live staple forever, except for Invisible Touch, right? Can you guys let me know? Okay, so I'm realizing Mama Tour and Invisible Touch Tour doesn't look like they did it, but maybe they snuck it in somewhere in around the Afterglow area, or maybe in the Encore somewhere, but you can let me know. I'm not sure we hear it there. So there was like a little late 70s, early 80s window, maybe, or certainly just early 80s window. Maybe the Abacab tour, they didn't do it as well. But I think by the time they brought it back in 92 with that little medley, and collage of tunes, it's really been a staple, especially adding in the stagnation part. And this is what I love so much about Seconds Out and all of the bootlegs that I have from the Selling England leading up until Duke era. I love, anytime I hear I Know What I Like, I just love it. The way they do it live, you could do it for 10 and a half minutes and would never be a problem. You know, the tambourine thing, of all the stage antics that Phil does, I love the tambourine thing. I have no problem with that. I think it's great. It's funny. It's good. It's quite talented, actually. And it was reminiscent and cute the way he did it on the 21-22 tour. I think that's cool. I think that's great about it. But you have this incredible moment where they bring it down, and then Chester builds it back up with the floor tom and the chords, the repeating da na na na, the repeating chords are happening, and then it blows back up again, and then even the way they end it with stagnation sometimes is so good. The Seconds Out version is amazing. I loved how they've having it come out of Firth of Fifth or having it come out of Los Endos is always really captivated me. Anyway, I could talk about this song forever. I think it's such a beautiful tune. And, you know, it reminds me of Carpet Crawlers in the sense that we're singing along to these lyrics. We don't even know what they mean. But it's such a great pop tune. I absolutely love this song. I think what makes my love for it so intense is two things. Number one is how great it sounds live, the many different ways they've done it over the years. In the recent tour, it sounded great. In the 2007 tour, it sounded great. And going all the way back to when they would first play it on the Selling England by the Pound tour, it sounds great. So all the live versions of it are just so exciting. I had goosebumps when I saw it live both times. The second reason I love it is because I think it's one of the best Peter Gabriel songs that Phil did. And this is a Phil Collins channel, so let's focus on him for a second. I know that I Know What I Like is not one of Phil's vocal songs, but when he had the responsibility to take it over, I think he did it the best with this song. His voice just really fit well, and that melody, whether or not he had a hand in writing the melody in the early days, that melody is just something that his voice was really comfortable with. And as a performer, he was really comfortable with it. And he's actually said that himself, is that it's one of his favorite old songs to play live. And I just, you know, it's an easy song to sing along. It must be just in that comfortable register for him. So because of those two reasons, it ends up just being one of my favorite songs. It works well on the album. Selling England is one of my favorite albums. Gosh, we're talking about this too long. What do you think about I Know What I Like in your wardrobe? Where does that rank for your Genesis tunes?